Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Unshakable Soul podcast. My name is Sophia Wood Massicotte, your host, and in this podcast, we dive into the magic and mystery of our human experience. Today, I am here to share with you episode 63, where we are going to dive into pleasure, specifically pleasure as a gateway to step into your feminine power as a woman. Having said that, if you are a man listening or looking at this episode, then of course you can have some golden nuggets in this too. So, the structure or the flow for this conversation, I'm going to start off by explaining why this actually matters, and then I'll follow up with the truth about pleasure and what it actually means. And then I'm going to go into the root cause for why women feel so burned out. And then I'll close with the remembering and the reclamation of pleasure as our power as women and what happens when we say yes to our pleasure. Okay? So, let us begin. I have little notes here. If you see me on my screen looking at something, as I'm trying to be a little more structured. But as you know, if you've been here a while, I can go on tangents, but that's okay. It's all part of the flow. All right, so why does this matter? Why does pleasure and speaking about this matter? Well, I am speaking from a first world modern society point of view. Yes, I have traveled some parts of the world, but I'm here to share my own experience and also share what I've been feeling collectively from the women in my space. Many women are stressed, right? This may not be news to your ears. They're burnt out, emotionally exhausted, and they're completely disconnected from their body. Their energy's all pushed up in their mind, which causes, for the most part, a lot of anxiety, overwhelm, and confusion. And it saddens me to see so many women truly away from their power. And I can empathize because I was one of those women. And I was completely disconnected from my power. I was trying to over control. I was isolating myself from society way too much. I didn't feel good enough. I felt as though I needed to perform to be somebody else in order to be accepted. I felt too much. I'm highly sensitive, and I would emotionally react very easily. And unfortunately to the people I love the most. Okay. And then there was a shift. So going into the shadows, doing the shadow work, inner child healing, and a lot of deep work, yes, was very helpful and humbling when I come face to face with truth. But truly, the biggest pivot point was when I finally let myself open up to receive pleasure again. Okay? And I'm not just speaking about like sexual pleasure, because this is the thing, and I'll come to this right after this little section. It's not about pleasure equals only sex with another person, so me as a woman with a man. But it's actually when I allowed myself, the shift happened when I allowed myself to actually feel my body and to be comfortable with my body, to honor my femininity. So that entailed being vulnerable, claiming my desires, and becoming my own best lover. Okay? This was a big shift for me because it actually brought me into a state of remembering where I no longer needed to search out there for something to completely, and I no longer needed to escape the woman that was waiting to be birthed through me. I was no longer afraid from her, because I was. This was one of my realizations. I was very much afraid of my power, afraid of my wildness, my wiseness, my innocence, right? My body. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to manage it. I thought I had to control it, but actually I had to soften into it. Okay, and I had to explore all the various facets of the feminine and to get comfortable embodying them first with myself. And now it's the activation through people, interaction with the world. How can I bring my own self-pleasure, self-care practices into the world? Okay. All right. So, segueing into the truth about pleasure. Because maybe already you have a preconception or a notion when I mention the word pleasure. Okay. And a lot of us are tying pleasure to sex. And I'm not saying that pleasure is not sex. I'm just saying that sex is one expression of pleasure practice. The invitation I have for us is to reframe pleasure as a gateway to more joys, flow, love, abundance, and feminine power. So pleasure is not indulgent, and it's not something that you do when you have time. It becomes actually part of a woman's everyday life. It's part of her filling her own cup up. And it's sacred. It's very regulating for the nervous system. And it is magnetizing. Okay, a woman in her pleasure, think of Venus or Aphrodite as the lover archetype, right? It's all about pleasure, my heart's desires, and just reveling in offering yourself the pleasure. So the reframe and the shift here is, or the contemplation, it's, well, what is my notion of pleasure? Have I been denying myself pleasure? Do I shame pleasure in others? Do I judge it? Because that's reflecting a judgment in yourself. There is a resistance. Okay. So here's the caveat. You might be also thinking, oh, that sounds so good, like making pleasure a part of my day-to-day life. Like, that sounds so good, and I can be more in my radiance, in my joy, and magnetize the love I desire, or any experience I desire to have is magnetized through me being in my pleasure. Wow, that's amazing. But here's the caveat. Do you feel safe owning and being in your pleasure? Right? Do you feel safe taking time for yourself? Do you feel safe in your body? Right? Do you feel safe slowing down? Because a lot of pleasure is actually presence and connection to your senses. To feel the palpitation of life and the elements around you, within you, playing and dancing. Food coming in your mouth, water on your skin, your own hands on your skin. Okay, for women especially, touch is so important. The texture of your clothing, the smell of rain or the forest after rain. Right? There can also be pleasure in just watching a sunset or a sunrise. There can be also pleasure in a really deep conversation you're having. Yeah. Okay? There can be also pleasure in your emotions. This is when you realize that spectrum of pain and pleasure, it's one and the same. It's on the same spectrum. If we can get to a space where we fully embrace the emotions and actually bring them up, bubble them up to the heart to be alchemized into love, there can be a big, profound pleasure that takes place. Okay, in this kind of heart explosion. Because beneath it all is love. Love for self, love for life, love for another. Okay, so here is the caveat. The woman needs to feel safe to experience pleasure in her body. This is when she starts activating a higher frequency, or another word is just energy. She starts activating her energy. So your lower energy centers, where a lot of us are usually stuck living in the shadow aspect of it, so fear, shame, and guilt, it all gets bubbled up to the heart to be alchemized. And the heart is a space of unconditional love. It cannot be hurt. It cannot be broken. It is full compassion. It is wholeness. There's no need to look outside to find validation, to find something to completely, because you finally are at home. So the woman's task is to be fully in her body and create a home, an inner sanctuary, this safe zone in herself to allow herself to experience pleasure. Okay, so it's not always about sexuality, of having to have intercourse, because again, sexuality, we're not going to go into this for this conversation, but if you're interested, let me know. We can go into sexuality. And like, oh, to feel pleasure, it's sex. It's so limited. A woman can feel pleasure in so many different ways, but she is the one that has to allow herself. And of course, if you have a partner, they also play a role in providing a safe container for you to have your own experience and exploration of your body. Okay? But there is radical self-responsibility when it comes to carving the time out for your self-pleasure practices and really allowing yourself to maybe sit or move or breathe through the resistance of allowing yourself to take time for yourself, to go for that spa day, the massage, right? Go in the water, take a break from your children or your work. Like, for a lot of people, more than you think, that's a lot. That's expanding the nervous system capacity. Okay? Because a lot of us, we fear what's going to happen if we don't conform to a certain way of being. So here is where we need to rewire the beliefs. Do I feel as though I need to earn this time off, this pleasure? Do I need to perform? Am I good enough? Am I deserving of this? These are the main ones that could come up. So we have to be really honest and compassionate with ourselves when we go through this process. Okay? Because that's what's going to come up when you start activating your pleasure and allowing yourself to be in your body and to feel what's rising and to enjoy it all and to move it all. Shit's going to come up to the surface. And instead of numbing, suppressing, repressing, escaping to all our coping mechanisms, overgiving, people pleasing, trying to fix somebody else, right? Our energy goes out there. It's like, can I stay within me and start expanding the nervous system capacity to hold on to this pain? Because again, it's on the same spectrum, the pain and the pleasure. The more pain you can hold, the pain of the grief, the pain of the shame, the pain of the abandonment, the pain of the rejection, or the fear of, I can hold myself through it. And I could pass the threshold. And it all comes back to love, to a fierce devotion for you. The full acceptance of who you are and the worthiness that is innate. There's no performing. You don't need to do more or to change who you are. The change, quote unquote, is actually a recalibration and attunement and a remembering. But we can only do that if we are willing to go within. This is why the feminine path of awakening is a remembering. It's a descent. It's a felt experience that is accessed through the body. And what happens the other side when you allow yourself to drink from your own nectar? Right? The nectar of life, the nectar of love that ever flows within your veins and all around you. You'll notice, holy shit, I have so much love, so much support, so much abundance within and without. I just didn't realize it. Then you start moving with more ease. Not only in your body, you start moving with more grace and fluidity, but also through all the various changes life brings us, or even obstacles, right? Or even triggers. You're no longer triggered the same way. Because here's the thing, a woman that's fully inhabited in her body, that honors her body, that takes care of herself, that takes the time out of her day to nourish herself, she's unshakable. She has boundaries and she's not afraid of people leaving her life because she's so good with who she is and the woman she is. There's a deep reverence for herself and for humanity. She's no longer resentful because the pain that she sees in somebody else is the pain that she sees in herself, but she's alchemized that, so it's turning into compassion. Doesn't mean it's tolerance for toxic behavior. She just chooses to disengage and walk a different path. So you notice that the cycles stop. You break the cycles of people pleasing, of overworking, of performing, whatever that means for you, of the perfectionist, the good girl perfectionist. This is a big one too. All of that crumbles. And you come back to the remembering of my pleasure is my greatest power. Because my pleasure is actually healing. It's healing me. It's regulating my nervous system. And yes, it can bring up resistance because of the shame, the taboo, whatever it is, right? The guilt. But when we allow ourselves to feel that and move through that and breathe through that and sound through that, what's left is love, self-acceptance, forgiveness. She's free. She's free to create a life that makes her feel alive. This is what's missing in women nowadays, is this felt sense of aliveness in my body. We don't need more robots. We don't need more women that are numb, disconnected from their hearts, their wombs, their deep-seated power, the portal of creation, when new paradigms, waves of living and loving are birthed into life. No, we need the opposite. We need women to come back, return, reclaim their feminine gifts, their own rhythm, their intuition, their body wisdom. And we need women to support each other, to be our own safe containers, and then communicate with our loving partners, with our male counterparts. Create a team environment when you both integrate the safe container, the holding space, the presence, and the creative juice, and the love and the nourishment that comes through the feminine heart. This is the restoration of heaven on earth. And we're in it. But we're in the crunchy phase now. So we gotta move through the crunch. And how do you move through a crunch? Coming back to what fills you up, your pleasure. So ask yourself now, or write down or contemplate, what brings me the most pleasure? Right? And I can hear the women saying, well, taking care of my kids, if you have kids, or my cat, or da. But just notice, whatever you're writing, is it all geared towards helping others? Is there a balance between self-nourishment and nourishing others? Because again, the feminine naturally wants to give and nurture. It's beautiful. The thing is she forgetting herself in the process? Because authentically, if the giving is genuine, it will come from a full cup. So how do you fill your cup? What brings you this sense of aliveness, of joy, the twinkle in your eyes? What rejuvenates you? Okay, so pleasure takes many forms. As I mentioned, it could be a deep conversation, it could be a nourishing meal, it could be a walk in nature, it could be a touching of your own skin, it could be nice silky clothing, right? It can be sex too. Soulful, deep, juicy sex. So, this is the invitation. Notice where you're at right now in your life. Are you leading a life that is basically in modern society's definition of normal, right? Productive, efficient. I'm not saying that's bad, but usually that gears us towards not actually allowing ourselves to rest. It gears us towards people pleasing, always giving. It doesn't invite in presence, pause, acknowledgement of what I already have, gratitude, beauty, because the society is always pushing us towards more and more and more. This go-go race we're on. And this, slowly but surely, creates chronic stress and burnout for a lot of women, and overwhelm. So just notice where you're at with honesty. Do you feel pleasure in your life? If so, in which areas? What are the moments that you feel the most connected to your body, the most connected to life? Okay. Do you give yourself room to breathe? Do you give yourself this space to feel the wind on your skin, the rain, the sun, a lover's touch, a hug, to give a hug, to look at yourself in the mirror? Where do you resist pleasure in your life? and why? Okay, these are juicy questions, and they're crunchy. So I'm gonna wrap up here quickly, but I want to close off on what happens actually when we choose to say yes to our pleasure. Well, first we begin to upgrade the beliefs. So I mentioned a little bit about a lot of the beliefs that could be running around our minds that say something like, I need to work harder, or I don't have time. I'm too much. I don't deserve that. I'm not good enough. Okay? So really looking and feeling into the underlying current that is restricting you and that is causing this tension, this pullback, whenever there is perhaps a situation that's inviting pleasure into your body, into your being. What also can happen is that your body is starting to recalibrate. Okay? So mentioning the nervous system here, there's a lot of us, we live in this sympathetic activated nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay? But when we're inviting pleasure in, we're actually expanding our capacity to hold more pleasure, love, intimacy, success, abundance, everything that we actually desire to experience in this life without self-sabotaging it or collapsing. Okay, so we're building our energy field. Okay, if you're a 10-watt bulb and you want to attract in 60 watts, like, you're going to fry. So that's why we want to be able to build that nervous system capacity to hold more juice, more life, more of what we want to experience. The feminine wants more, right? But she gotta give to herself first. She gotta give her, and then she's gonna offer 10 times more back. And she's not afraid of losing because she knows there's the cycle. And if she's afraid of losing something, then there's the questioning of, well, what am I actually giving my energy to? Because then I'm not trusting the law of reciprocity. Okay? So upgrade the beliefs. Your body starts to recalibrate, so you feel more at ease. You know how to handle crunchier situations, and you're expanding also in your ability to allow more pleasure in. Number 3 is what starts happening to yes to pleasure is you begin to access this deep sense of worthiness that's always been there, perhaps lost along the way of life, the path of life. Right? So you stop trying to prove yourself, performing, asking for attention. You realize you're already valuable just as you are. So with the worthiness piece comes the radical self-acceptance. Okay? And that prerequisite is, am I comfortable with who I am in my body as a woman? Owning my power. Owning my pleasure. Owning my boundaries, my energy. You deserve a beautiful relationship with your body, with your partner, with life. But it starts with you and your relationship with you. Okay, so you no longer will tolerate toxic treatment. And yes, you will start alienating, let's say, people that perhaps were in your life before, that knew you as the you that you were, but now you're becoming more of who you actually are. And maybe those people are not okay with that. You are okay with that. Instead of trying to fit into their perception of who you are, into this box that was never truly you, but you've adopted that box for a while. Now it's like, no. This is changing and morphing. Right? So you're no longer trying to fit in. You're creating your own mold, which is not even a mold because a woman is multidimensional. And you're cool with that. And you're going to attract people that are also cool with that. Okay? And the fourth thing I want to mention, what happens when you say yes to your pleasure, it's you have this safety in your body. Like you're your own inner sanctuary, your own safe container. You develop this trusting relationship with your body, with its deep, innate wisdom and intuition. You're safe to be radiant, to wear that beautiful dress, to put your hair down, whatever makes you feel good, to have the bath, to take the time off, to go bathe naked in the body of water. You become unshakable. And this is not about you like needing to run wild naked in the streets of a city. Okay? It's about you really offering yourself the time and space to feel and to connect deeply to what is alive in this moment for you, what is true for you. If what is true for you is, I'm gonna go in the moonlight and skinny dip in the river, go for it. I'm gonna call this person and tell them how I feel about them, right? But it's not coming from wounded self, it's coming from soul. It's coming from this fierce love. Even if what you're gonna share, a truth perhaps, is crunchy, because it's coming from soul, it's liberating for both. If it's gonna hurt the other, then it's best it's not said. Okay, so the self-expression, you're safe now. You've developed the safety within you to express your truth. Whether that's through dance, through singing, through, your voice. It's like you're no longer afraid of that rejection. You're no longer afraid of being seen in your full expression. You're no longer waiting for somebody to give you permission. You say, no, I give myself permission. Because I'm the queen of my queendom. So contemplate, do I feel safe right now fully expressing myself? Setting my boundaries. Expressing what I truly need and desire. Asking for help. Letting somebody know what I like in the bedroom. Singing, if you have to sing, like, do you shy away from the spotlight? Does your voice shut down when you're in front of others, but you're comfortable doing it with yourself? Which is beautiful. Where's that next step expansion for you? Maybe it is to sing to a confidant. And then maybe it is to sing somewhere else where there's more people. Who knows? See where your edge is at. Because that's going to help you open and build and expand that nervous system capacity. And of course, we're talking about things that bring you pleasure. Right? Okay. So, to close, I will invite you, if this thematic is something you're like, oh my gosh, I want to go deeper, then I'll invite you to come to Pleasure Portal. Pleasure Portal is a sacred 3-part initiation that I just created for women, designed to guide you back to your body, to your joy and your feminine radiance. So it's going to be August 7th, 8th, and 9th at 9 a.m. EST, and it's going to be about 60 to 90 minutes long each session. And each day is going to be themed differently, but they're all connected together. So it's an embodied process. So day one is going to be the somatic awareness, and also the understanding of, well, what has actually been causing me to be disconnected from my body, from my pleasure, from my radiance and joy. So there's also going to be a somatic component to this day, just being aware of where perhaps the resistance lies in your body, and how can I cultivate safety to actually hold that, to be with that. Day two, somatic expression. So this is when we tap in to the pleasure of being in my body. So I have for us a really cool playlist that's going to take you through this embodied journey of awakening energy in your body and starting to melt away the resistance and coming into your own felt sense of being alive and being fully embodied and in your joy and radiance. And day three, we're going to end up and wrap up with a somatic recalibration, where we're going to really rewire those beliefs, rewrite the script that perhaps has been running our whole life up until this point. And then we're going to end with this somatic practice of alignment, so that we can go forward inspired to take aligned action. So if this feels like something you are interested in joining, then I have in the show notes the registration link. And if you sign up before July 28th, you'll receive a free 45-minute one-on-one integration session after the activation with me. All right, loves. Thank you so much for being here, for tuning in, for listening. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to comment. I always love to hear from you guys how this resonates with you and what you like to hear next. From my heart to yours, have a beautiful rest of your day.